Hey everyone, today we're going to dig into a really powerful tool from the world of psychology that can totally flip the script on how you negotiate. It's called force field analysis. It was developed by a guy named Kurt Lewin, and honestly, it's a secret weapon for breaking through just about any deadlock. Let's jump right in.
You know the feeling, right? We've all been there. You're sitting at the table, you've laid out this perfectly logical case, your numbers are airtight, and nothing. You just hit a brick wall. The other side will not budge. It's got to be one of the most frustrating things in negotiation, and it's the exact problem we're going to solve today.
So, what is really going on in those moments? Well, Lewin saw every single negotiation, every decision really, as a kind of tug of war. You've got forces pulling you towards the deal you want, and other forces pulling you away from it. What he did way back in the 1940s was create a model that basically gives us a map of this invisible battlefield. And this, right here, is the absolute core of it, straight from Lewin himself. That deadlock you're stuck in, it's not there by accident. It's in a state of balance, an equilibrium. So to get that yes, you can't just pull harder on your end of the rope. You have to figure out how to strategically upset that balance. Okay, so here's our game plan. We'll start by looking at the deadlock itself. Then we'll map out all those hidden forces. I'm going to show you exactly how to build your own map and, just as important, how to weigh those forces. Then we'll see it in action with a really clear example and wrap up with how this gives you a brand new strategic edge. So let's talk about the deadlock. So often, the reason a deal stalls has nothing to do with the obvious stuff, like the price. It's usually about these unseen pressures, these hidden interests. And this analysis, it's all about dragging those hidden factors out into the light. So what is it, officially? Well, force field analysis is a strategic tool for identifying and evaluating all the different forces that are either pushing for a change or pushing against it. For us, as negotiators, it's a way to diagnose exactly why we're stuck. It helps us see everything that's helping us, the driving forces, and everything that's hurting us, the restraining forces.
Okay, let's really dig into those two types of forces that make up our map. This is basically the fundamental conflict, the yin and yang at the heart of every single negotiation.
It's actually super intuitive when you break it down. On one side, you have your driving forces. Just think of these as the pros, all the factors that are pushing you toward your goal. And on the other side, the restraining forces. These are your cons, the headwinds, all the things that are resisting your proposal and trying to keep things exactly as they are.
And this visualizes it perfectly. When your driving forces are stronger than the restraining ones, hey, change is possible. If they're equal, that's your equilibrium, your stalemate. That's the wall you're hitting. And if the restraining forces are stronger, forget it, you're blocked. Your whole job as a negotiator is to figure out how to tip this balance.
Okay, theory is great, but how do we actually use this thing? Let's walk through a super practical 5-step guide that you can literally use in your very next negotiation. So, here's the process. Step 1. You have to define your goal with total clarity. What exactly are you trying to achieve? Then, you brainstorm a lot. First, list every single thing pushing for that change. Then, list everything holding it back. After that, you're going to assign scores to see how strong they are. And finally, you use that finished map to build your killer strategy. Now, when you're brainstorming, it is so important to think both internally and externally. Internal forces are things happening inside the other party's company, like a push for more profit, or maybe a team that's terrified of a new process. External forces are things out in the world, like market competition or existing supplier contracts. The key here is to just get everything down. Don't filter anything out yet.
All right, now for a really critical step, scoring the forces. And this is where the art of negotiation kind of meets the science. It's about way more than just objective data.
So the mechanics are easy. You just give every force on your list a score, usually on a scale from 1 to 5. 1 being super weak, 5 being extremely strong. This just helps you get a quick visual of which factors are the biggest players on your map. And listen, this is absolutely crucial. A force isn't just a number on a spreadsheet. It's also about emotions and what people believe. Things like the other negotiator's fear of looking bad, their team's resistance to change, or just a simple lack of trust. These are incredibly powerful restraining forces that you have to score and take into account.
All right, enough theory. Let's make this real. We're going to walk through a classic procurement example. Let's say you're a supplier and you absolutely have to negotiate a price increase with a client.
Okay, let's build this map together. Our goal is to increase the price. So, on our side, the driving forces are pretty obvious, right? Rising material costs are a huge pressure. That's a strong 4. We've got a new labor contract and higher shipping fees, both pushing hard. Let's call those 3s. And general inflation is a factor, maybe a 2. Now, let's put ourselves in their shoes. What's holding them back? Well, the biggest one is their intense industry competition. That's a powerful 4 holding them back. They're also worried about upsetting partners and what this does to their corporate image. Both are probably solid 2s. And yeah, there's a small fear this could divert some sales, but it's pretty weak, so let's call it a 1.
Okay, time to do the math. On the side that's pushing for this price increase, the driving forces add up to a total score of 12.
And now for the other side of the tug of war, the forces pushing against our change. We add those up, and we get a total of 9.
So what does this tell us? We've got a 12 pushing for us and a 9 pushing against them. This is where the strategy just lights up. Because 12 is bigger than 9, we know this change is actually possible. But here's the brilliant part, the real insight. Our best move isn't to just keep talking about our own rising costs. Our strategy should be to focus on weakening their strongest restraining force. How can we help them deal with that strong industry competition problem, the one we rated a 4? That is the key that unlocks this entire negotiation.
See? This shows that force field analysis is so much more than some old academic exercise. It is a practical, tactical tool that gives you a genuine strategic edge when you're at the table.
Of course, no tool is perfect. The upsides are obvious. It's simple, it's visual, and it forces you to think about all those crucial soft factors. But the analysis is only as good as the information you put in, and it can definitely be subjective. That's why, if you really want the best results, you should always try to do this with your team.
So if you remember anything, remember this. Force field analysis lets you actually visualize the entire battlefield. It helps you find hidden obstacles you never would have thought of. And sometimes you even uncover surprise sources of support. But most importantly, it helps you build a targeted strategy that's not about applying more pressure, but about finding ways to relieve it. So I'm going to leave you with this question to think about. In your next tough negotiation, just for a moment, stop thinking about how you can push harder. Instead, ask yourself, what is the single strongest restraining force that's holding the other side back, and what can I do to help them weaken it? I promise you, the answer to that question could be the key to your success.